Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel StartupLanes.com. I am Smriti and this is a series of interviews that we are conducting with various angel investors to understand their investment philosophy and hopefully inspire some new investors. Our today's guest is Mikey Doyer. She's a founder of Epic Angels, which is an angel investor network based in Singapore and focuses a lot on female leadership. She's also an educator, entrepreneur, and executive. Let us get to know more about her through this interview. Good morning. My name is Smriti, and today we have a very esteemed guest with us. Ma'am, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Mikey Doyer, and I'm running an angel network, Epic Angels, in Singapore.
So, ma'am, the first question is, what is your investing philosophy?
Well, my investing philosophy in general is start small. I see that many angel investors think like, oh, you need to get in big immediately. You need to start with $50,000 or whatnot. But my philosophy is really start small and maybe early on in the process of a startup, in the life cycle of a startup. And when you see that it is actually growing and moving further, you can always increase your investments. Yeah, so I think it's very important to make sure that you have a very well diversified portfolio and that you don't put all your money on one or two startups.
What has been the most important investing lesson you have learned so far?
I think the investing lesson is make sure you invest in many startups. Even if you think like, whoa, this startup is amazing, we just know that only 1 out of 10 startups will survive. So if you only invest in a handful, chances are likely that it's not going to survive. And so make sure that you invest little bits in many startups.
Yes, ma'am, that is a very important thing. Ma'am, what has been your best investment till date?
So I'm pretty new to angel investing as such, so I haven't had an exit yet. So from that perspective, I don't know yet what's going to be my best investment from a financial return. What I like is just really to interact with the team and to have some good communication with the team and the founders. And I have that with a few of the startups that I invested in. There's just a real personal connection, and you just can chat with each other quickly whenever something happens. Something that's something that I really like.
So, ma'am, can you share any investing mistakes that you made and the lessons that you learned from it?
Some investing mistakes. I think it's sometimes you really think this is going to be the next big thing, but you don't know, and there's so many elements that can go wrong in the process, and that's okay. And so don't try to guess what's going to be the winner, because most likely you're going to guess wrong.
Yeah, learning is very important. Is there any particular investor or author who has a significant influence on your investing objectives?
There's not one specific investor or author. I really believe in just do it. I think that's the most important part. And I get my inspiration from many angels around me. I really communicate a lot. I mean, that's why I created this angel network as well, because I really believe that it's lonely if you want to invest on your own and you're really like, ooh, shall I invest? Yes or no? But if you're with a couple of peers, people around you that you trust, it's super helpful, and it will boost your confidence to say like, yes, it's not only me who think this is a great idea. These other ladies, in this case, because Epic Angels is a female investor network, also trust that this is a good thing. So really make sure you surround yourself by a few like-minded peers that you can maybe co-invest with even, but that you definitely can brainstorm about and have these conversations about the specific investments.
Yes, community building is a very essential thing.
Absolutely.
What would your advice be to entrepreneurs seeking funds?
Yeah, that's a good one. Make sure you approach investors on a personal level, because often I get a LinkedIn message with just a super generic post like, do you want to invest? And people did not even take the time to read my profile, because then they would have seen, hey, if you want to have an investment, go to the website Epic Angels, and there's a form that you can fill out if you want us to invest in you. And they completely miss that. They don't even try to find a connection. I mean, if people send me a pitch cold, meaning I don't have any connection with you, chances are very unlikely that I'm gonna invest. I mean, do some effort. It is like doing sales. So really figure out through LinkedIn, which is an amazing source, how are you connected to this individual? What can you do to get in touch? Is there a warm introduction possible? And yes, that's a lot of work, but don't just shoot on LinkedIn and then wait till something's going to happen, because most likely not a lot is going to happen.
Yes. Ma'am, according to you, what is more important, team, idea, or traction?
In the end, it's about team. I have what we say is we invest in founders who refuse to die, who choose, but of course with the comment, who choose agility over ego. Because if you're so stuck on the thing that you came up with, the thing that you started with, and if you're not agile enough to change because of the market feedback, because of the traction that you're getting, you need to get market feedback. That is so important, and you need to be a curious founder who's continuously searching for that market feedback, for that validation. And so those are the type of founders. So in the end, it's about team, because no one knows what's going to be the next big thing, and no one can look into the future. But if you're a great founder, you will be able to pivot, and you will be able to really read the market in a good way.
Ma'am, do you invest in a particular sector? Like, are you interested in any particular sectors?
Not in particular sectors, although in general it's tech related, because I'm looking for scalable businesses, and those are typically also the ones that need investment. So tech businesses, and in Asia, that's an important element for me as well. So they have to be based somewhere in Asia, which is a very big region, of course. That's and we definitely prefer that there is female leadership. Doesn't necessarily need to be a female founder, but I want to see female leadership. If I see a startup team with four guys only, I'm like, hey, what's wrong here? Where's that woman in your team?
So, ma'am, what value addition do you think the founders get along with investments?
So I think it's important to pick your investor strategically, who can help you, either whether that individual has network in a region where you're active, or in an industry where you're active. I think in my case, I mean, the company that I worked for, Business Models Inc., we are the producer of the business model canvas, and I know that every startup is using the business model canvas to look into their future. So I do help a lot of startups as well with their strategic thinking, like, okay, what is going to be that next plan? What is going to be that business model? So I definitely work a lot with startups just on those type of things.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Ma'am, what do you think is the ideal time that a startup should start raising the funds? At what stage?
Um, I think it's important to first try to get some traction, even though I know that for a lot of tech platforms, you can't get traction in a few weeks. And you really need to build something, and you need to have a team before you can launch that. But I think what is important to an investor is that you can show that you have validated your concept. Sometimes I get a presentation, and literally the only thing that there is a presentation. they barely had customer interactions. They didn't create prototypes. And I mean, a prototype, you can literally create it in one day. They don't take 3 months to create a prototype. Then you're building the wrong thing. What can you build in one day? How can you get out there to speak with customers, to interact with potential customers and get some feedback? That is for me the most important part. That's what I need to see in any startup. I prefer early stage. And that's I think more the profile. Also with the investment amounts that I go in because they're smaller, and so I like to go in. But I mean, when is a good time for the startup themselves? Try to bootstrap as long as possible and really try to get some tractions before you reach out, because it's going to be much easier to get investment once you have a little traction. Even you don't need to have some profit or anything, that's all later on, but definitely, show traction, show that you can do something as a team and that you're the
Yes.
right team to do that.
Yes, ma'am, that's very important. Like, ma'am, is there anyone you would like to thank who's supporting you in your investments?
For me, that's just the angels I have around me, the epic angels. That for me is just very important to really do this together, and that really helped me to accelerate my own journey as an angel investor. The
Any
original
original
quote.
quote or philosophy that you believe in?
So my quote would be, stop the blah blah. No analysis paralysis. Just do it and learn from that.
Yes, learning from your mistakes is very essential. And ma'am, what are the first 3 slides that you look for in a pitch deck?
The first 3 slides that I look for, I think I really look for what's the idea. Funny enough, very often it's hard to find in a deck what the actual thing is that someone is selling. There's like this whole big story, like a lot of blah blah, but what's the real thing? What do I buy from you? Often that's missing, interesting enough. So that's like, what is it that you're selling? The other thing that I'm looking for, like, hey, what are some um, financial estimates that you made? And then not so much on the actual numbers, because to be fair, they're going to be wrong anyway, but more on the mechanics of your business model. So how do you expect that you're going to make money? And that what's the mechanism behind that? That's something that I want to see, and of course the team. That's the other thing that I want to see.
Ma'am, how would you define a startup?
A startup is a temporary organization looking for a scalable, searchable, and repeatable business model. That's a whole mouthful, and it's because that's what it is. I mean, it's a company that is searching for something, didn't find it yet, because I think once you found it, once you have your product market fit, you're really getting more into the execution modes. Search is critical in a startup. Like, how can I really do this? What's my product market fit? And once I have that, how can I scale that? How can I really grow that to something bigger? So it's all about that search.
Ma'am, and what are the attributes of an entrepreneur?
Curiosity is a super important one. You need to be super curious, continuously asking why. The other thing is you need to be you need to have a strong point of view. So you need to have a point of view. You need to be able to communicate that point of view as well towards your customers, but also towards your potential employees. Yeah, it's about get shit done. I think that's another important attribute. Just, you need to be able to really do it, not just talk about it, but really get your hands dirty and get it done.
Lastly, do you have any feedback or opinions on StartupLanes?
I think what I like is that you're reaching out to other people. You're scouting the internet, like, hey, who could fit our community? So it looks like you're really on your way to build a great community here.
Thank you, ma'am. With this, I would like to conclude the interview. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time and your expertise. I hope this will inspire many other investors.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really curious to see more startups as well in India and more female founders, obviously.